Arcade Paradise is a wonderfully 90s experience about running an arcade in the back of a laundromat. In it, you play as Ashley, a teenager, 19, who is told by her father to take over a rundown, long-forgotten laundromat business called King Wash. Unhappy with washing clothes for a living, however, Ashley decides to turn the laundromat into an arcade. Does she have her father's support? Nope. Does she care? Not at all. The father is luckily in another country, or somewhere else. So, as long as the laundromat exists, she figures she can sneakily run the arcade in the back. And so begins the tale of the King Wash arcade. The story is interesting, but it did give me the impression that it was mostly a pretext for the main activity, managing the arcade itself. One evidence of this is in the way you actively progress the story. You get calls and snippets of text and chats when you reach major milestones in your arcade, such as adding all cabinets from a store's catalog to your arcade. So, if the gameplay is perhaps the most important part of the experience, it beckons the question, how good is it? Well, fear not, it is awesome, albeit not without caveats. For most of the game, there will be two places you can juggle between. The laundromat up front and the arcade/office in the back. For the laundromat, as well as the general maintenance of the building, you will be on the first-person perspective. Your main tasks are quite monotonous, even if interactive. For example, you pick clothes, then you hold E for a second or two near a washing machine, then after a few hours you go back, hold E again to get the clothes, then hold E near a drying machine, and then after a few hours you go back and hold E to get the dry clothes, then put them on the table to earn money. The tasks are all like this. You collect trash, you go outside, you toss it in a bin, go back, repeat 2 or so more times, and you even unclog toilets and fix machines through similarly boring minigames. Here's the thing though, these activities are all boring on purpose. Your character's goal isn't to run the laundromat, her goal is to have an arcade. That being said, it still doesn't change the fact that these activities are required early game. To make matters worse, if you want extra money from activities, you can nail their minigame to gain a letter ranking which affects your earnings. When doing laundry, the main laundromat activity, said letter ranking comes from how agile you are with the laundry. While you can't rush the washing and drying processes, if you want the maximum amount of money for the activity, you'll need to run over there as soon as the game notifies you that the washing is done. Now, imagine you have 5 different machines going, a few with different times. Yeah, you're gonna be interrupted constantly while playing your arcade games, just to go to the front and deal with the laundry. For me, it got very boring, but I do know quite a few people are enjoying the chores. I can't. That is alleviated by the fact that I found out that past early game, you're not actually meant to keep the laundromat going. Once your arcade cabinets start making enough money, you can stop doing laundry. I gotta say, even though I was having a good time, the game got a lot more enjoyable after I realized that. As for the rest of the boring tasks, you'll soon outgrow them, per se. Upgrades allow you to have to clean less, skip collecting your earnings from each individual cabinet, and overall help make your life easier on that front, so that you can enjoy the fun part of the game, the arcade. The way to acquire these upgrades is via daily missions. You get 3 every day, and upon completing each, you earn special currency that you can then eventually exchange for things that will make your life easier. The missions have you doing anything from ignoring the laundry side of things, all the way to specific tasks within each of the 35 plus arcade games. And yeah, I said 35 plus. The devs put in over 35 different cabinets, most, if not all, based on real cabinets from over 30 years of arcade history. Every one of these classics has their own skin and touch-ups in their Arcade Paradise counterparts, but regardless, lots of them are here. We have Pong, Air Hockey, Pac-Man, and plenty of others that I won't spoil. And yes, you can play every single one of these games. Some of them can even be played multiplayer with online leaderboards. This is the main draw of Arcade Paradise and your main goal: to spend all your time at work playing video games without negative consequences. Well, now that I say that out loud, that seems like a great goal in general. Huh. Well, anyway, I might be joking here, but the message isn't exactly inaccurate. In order for people to play the cabinets, they have to pay, and that's where the management bit comes into play. You can customize the prices on every single cabinet, albeit in a very simple way. You can choose the difficulty setting of each cabinet, which doesn't seem to really influence things when you're the one playing, and the price point for the cabinet. The game tells you how many dollars you'll be making per hour with each combination of difficulty and price that you pick. So it's really just a matter of testing all 9 options to find the one that gives you the most money. Just be warned, the best match will change as you gain more popularity, so check often. And speaking of popularity, that's the system that allows you to basically level up your cabinets per se and gain more money from them. Every single one of the cabinets, even the jukebox, which is not even a cabinet, has a set of goals for the player to accomplish. Just like the daily challenges, some of these goals are extremely easy, while others can be quite difficult or grindy. Each cabinet has its popularity influenced not only by you playing in them, but also by these goals being completed. Each time you complete a goal, your cabinet gets more popular, and popular cabinets equal more money. You can also strategically arrange your arcade so that lower performing cabinets are placed next to your best earning cabinets, as that gives a boost to the worst one of the pair. I can't tell you too much about this mechanic though, as I didn't really delve into it. But while I didn't pay much attention to this mechanic, you want to know what I did pay attention to? The visuals, art direction, and soundtrack. Let me tell you, they absolutely nailed all of those points. The team that created this game had a goal to create a 90s arcade, and that's exactly what they accomplished. As they say in their Steam store page, if you could smell this game, it would smell like memories. Well, to some of us anyway. I was born in 95 and didn't really go in arcades in the 90s. Hell, some of you watching this might have been born in the 2000s or perhaps even later. While that is a terrifying realization that I'm choosing to ignore so I don't plunge into an existential crisis, the fact remains that some of us won't have that memory. And despite that, the game still made me feel like I did. The internet in the office even has a dial-up noise, which I didn't even realize I remembered. The developers did a phenomenal job with the arcade aesthetic, down to every detail. Every box containing a new cabinet explodes in colors. The minigames for the Manial tasks have a very arcadey interface and a voiceover at the end. Neon lights permeate the inside of the arcade, amongst many other details. It's honestly impressive what they did here. The soundtrack is also nothing to scoff at. The tracks complement the feel they were going for really well, and I'd honestly do the game a disservice if I played them here. That being said, I do have to point out that you buy new tracks for the jukebox with the same currency that you use for upgrades. And since it takes quite a while to put enough together for the more expensive upgrades, I ended up just never buying new tracks. It's a major shame, and I'd strongly suggest making the tracks cost the normal currency. Oh, and while we're on the topic of audio, the game has voice acting. Well, only one voice. The father's voiced by none other than Doug Cockle, hope I pronounced that right, of Geralt from Witcher 3 fame. And the name of the character he voices in Arcade Paradise, well...
Gerald, King of the Riviera. Continue.
All in all, the game is awesome, but as I said before, it does have its caveats. Aside from the slow and tedious beginning that I mentioned, I'd also like to say that I ran into quite a few glitches with the cabinets. Based on my observation, it was mostly new machines that glitched until I restarted the game. The Whack-A-Mole one, for example, didn't produce moles or gophers in Arcade Paradise. Like, at all. It made for a very awkward play session. Luckily, as I said, restarting fixed it. Some objects were also impossible to interact with. Bugs aside, the game also takes a long time to unlock all cabinets, if that's the only thing you're after. I managed to finish after a playtime of about 25 to 30 hours, somewhere in there, which might be able to be reduced quite a bit as your bottleneck will be the normal currency, and I'm not the most efficient when it comes to managing popularity. But even then, unlocking all cabinets and finishing the game will take quite a while. To me, this is an issue, but it's something to keep in mind. Honestly though, aside from the slow beginning, the things I mentioned that might be a problem are mild inconvenience at best, and did not stop me from enjoying the game. That's it. That'll do it for Arcade Paradise. I do recommend this game if you're a fan of arcade games, as the 35 plus cabinets themselves are mostly really good. Just be prepared to deal with the slow starts and the few issues I mentioned, but honestly, for me, they were a small price to pay for such wonderful visuals, soundtrack, and cabinets. If you do pick up the game, please let me know how you like it, or not. And if you enjoyed the video, if it was useful to you, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps my growth. See you soon!